Gold Cup Day on Friday, and what a race is in store this year. There's no Galloping Day Champ, but it's a Grade 1 packed with class, so there's no drop in the quality of this blue ribband for the dual Gold Cup winner's absence. But, as ever, let's get a couple of the later handicaps out of the way. In the county hurdle, Dan Skelton again has a really hot chance in one of the Cheltenham handicaps, this time with Sinatra. He was third to Act of Innocence in the Sydney Banks at Huntingdon last month, but warmed up nicely for this dropped-in grade to a novices hurdle at Warwick, and gets into this pretty much at the bottom of the handicap, along with Hughie Morrison's Secret Squirrel, who will have his own admirers. It's going to be a mad, frantic dash for position as always in the county hurdle, but Harry Skelton will put his experience to best use. Willie Mullins' Absurd is a dangerous one to write off, so looks a fascinating each-way squeak. But I'll take Sinatra for the win. Closing the meeting as always is the Martin Pipe. Oh, how I hope that Dan Skelton can land another of these handicaps to round off his Cheltenham week. This time, it's Nurse Susan that can do the business under Tristan Durrell, who has really come to the fore as the yard's second-string jockey this season. I saw the race at Sandown Park when Nurse Susan, seemingly out of the race in the home straight, found something extra to win. And with course form here, should be right in the mix if the ground doesn't get too deep. If it does, Gordon Elliott's Steed Bonnet looks a worthy option, and Willie Mullins' Quelle Histoire must join the list. My Friday nap is Dino Blue, going to post in the Mare's Chase. It's very hard to ignore the appeal of Dino Blue to defend her title in this Mare's Chase, and my only surprise was the rather generous odds on offer anti-post. Anything over 2-1 and I'll say you've got yourself a bargain ticket, though dropped in grade to the listed Opera Hat Chase last time out did flatter to deceive a touch. For all that, her stablemate Spindleberry looks up against it in this Grade 1 unless Paul Townend can pull another rabbit out of the hat, so to speak, so Gavin Cromwell's Only by Night looks one that may have come under the radar for this. She was runner-up to Django Bay in the Arkle here last year after all. Dan Skelton's Panic Attack is willing, while Ben Pauling's Diva Luna is likely to set the fractions from the front, but I'll take Dinah Blue for the win with Only by Night keeping her honest. Do you agree, Caroline?
I do, boss, and I'm also surprised that she was at such generous odds, considering she won this last year. It must be that Dan Skelton's Panic Attack is thought of as a proper rival, and that can be justified a bit, I suppose. But is Panic Attack a Grade 1 horse? I'm afraid I don't think so yet, although she did win the Paddy Power Gold Cup handicap chase here at the November meeting, so has course form. Ben Pauling's Diva Luna also looks progressive, and from Thursday's winning trainer and jockey must be on my list. But Only by Night nearly won the Arkle here last year, so is the proven Grade 1 rival. Dino Blue to defend her crown, with Only by Night keeping her up to her work, as you said.
My next best goes in the feature, and that's Gaelic Warrior. This has to be the most wide-open Gold Cup for many a year, and would have been even if Galloping Day Champ was still involved. However, the dual winner of the festival's blue riband hasn't looked the force of old this season, and maybe there are some new kids on the block to challenge for the biggest national hunt prize of all. Also, there's an interesting couple from the home team this year. King George VI winner the Jukebox Man, Nicky Henderson's Django Bay, fourth in the King George, and both of these have been highly touted to keep the Gold Cup on British shores. I'm not entirely convinced that the Jukebox Man is going to be as effective on this track as he was at Kempton on Boxing Day, but Nicky Henderson's brilliant fencer Django Bay does look a Gold Cup type through and through. However, Willie Mullins will not want this to stay here, and now that Paul Townend is on Gaelic Warrior, this may be his time to prove that he's top class on the biggest stage, so that's my pick ahead of Django Bay. Caroline, your thoughts?
Oh yes, boss. The boy has finally grown up this year, and his run in the John Durkan at Punchestown at the start of this campaign really impressed me. After that, he was third in the King George, by a whisker, of course, in that blanket finish, and then second to Fact to File the last day at Leopardstown. I really do think he's come of age, but Paul Townend is going to have to keep a tight leash on him for the first circuit, as he'll not win if he does too much too soon. I'm sure as a gun that he'll be under instruction to do just that. Paul Townend, not that he needs telling, of course, so I'm sorry, the Gold Cup is going back home to Ireland.
To get things underway on Friday, there is no Narciso Has for the Triumph, which has blown the race wide open, but stablemate Selma de Veri can fill the void. A pretty unfancied 17-2 shot behind Narciso Has at the Dublin Racing Festival on her first run on Irish soil. Selma de Veri was upsides of Monge 2, who I rated the big danger to the then Triumph favourite, but she showed a flash of her talent when a 4.5 length second. Willie Mullins has a strong hand with Proactive, highly touted, after a convincing win at Fairyhouse in January, and another 7 declared, but may face some stiff competition from Gordon Elliott's Highland Crystal and Dan Skelton's Maestro Conti, who won the trial here back in January. A really hot renewal, where I'll hazard a guess that Proactive, Maestro Conti and my selection Selma de Veri will fill the first 3 slots. Caroline?
It took an age for Gordon Elliott to get a smile on his face this week, but he'll be smiling all over when Highland Crystal takes the triumph. She's had her form in a rated hurdle at Naas the last day fully franked, when my Tuesday pick Saratoga took the Fred Winter in some style, and I'm thinking that she's not been fully stretched yet. But I do think that Maestro Conti looks useful, and if it's a Grade 1, then Willie Mullins must have a say, so Proactive and Selma de Veri look his main too. Highland Crystal, to keep her unbeaten run going, I hope.
For the Albert Bartlett, it's yet another Willie Mullins and Paul Townend combination to go for Grade 1 glory. And I do think Dr. Steinberg is a worthy favourite. He did it pretty cosily when taking the Grade 1 novice hurdle at the Dublin Racing Festival, as Caroline said he would, despite going a bit freely in the early stages, so he can only improve for a more measured ride under the Jockey of the Week. Gordon Elliott's Kazansky was 8 lengths adrift in that Leopardstown race in second, but it's hard to see where he makes up that amount of ground, so stablemate Spinning a Yarn looks the main Irish rival with Jack Kennedy aboard. Paul Nolan's The Devil You Know won the River Don last time out, so has claims, but I find it hard to see past Dr. Steinberg. Caroline?
Yes, I liked Dr. Steinberg for the Grade 1 hurdle at Leopardstown the last day, and he didn't disappoint. I think he's easy to back, and like you, I've taken note of Paul Nolan's The Devil You Know as sure to be in the mix.
In the Open Hunters Chase, I think I'll side with Statler. It's on the Line was the runner-up in the 2023, 2024 and 2025 editions of this race, so you might wonder what Emmett Mullins' charge has got to do to win it. It was the reopposing Wonderwall that beat him a neck in last year's renewal, so it's no surprise to see this pair heading the markets this week, and I would expect both to be in the mix. However, it's Faye Bramley's Statler that was in the Gold Cup just 3 years ago that I find an intriguing contender. With Willie Mullins then, and with winning form around here in the National Hunt Challenge Cup the year prior, Statler remains relatively unexposed and lightly raced, so I'll back him to take on last year's 1-2 and come up trumps. Gordon Elliott's Chemical Energy has a similar profile to Statler in terms of previous course form, so is another to note, but Statler gets the nudge from me.